I'm Al Espinoza, Chief of Pasadena Police Department. I know that David Earl Worden is a sexual predator.
Steve said a rape didn't actually take place.
I believe it was consensual, which means it wouldn't be rape. Because I think that he's an honorable guy.
Steve McRae has presented this man, Earl David Worden, as a good man, an innocent man. So what's the problem? Well, Earl David Worden is a convicted rapist. He's also a serial rapist. And he's currently under indictment right now for raping his own child. And the narrative that's being put out is that Earl David Worden is an honorable man.
But at least we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and believe him because I think that he's an honorable guy.
Now, Steve has said that he believes that the rapes, the serial rapes, I'm assuming, were consensual.
I believe it was consensual, but that's my opinion, right? I'm allowed to have that opinion. That doesn't make me a rape apologist.
And that all of his victims are lying. Similar to the Bill Cosby episode. Remember when Bill Cosby was, thought of being a serial rapist, 30 women came forward and people were saying all the women were lying. Well, Steve is saying the same thing about David Earl Warren. But today we have an opportunity. And that opportunity is to evaluate Steve's claims of whether this is an innocent man or whether it's reasonable to believe that this serial rapist, convicted rapist, alleged child rapist is innocent versus the chief of the Pasadena Police Department and the lead detective who investigated David Worden's serial rapes. All right, so first we have to start by going back to 1985. And it's the summer of 1985, and I'm going to have the chief of the Pasadena Police Department explain to you what was actually happening.
Well, at the time, when we got these cases, we knew somebody was running around Houston and Pasadena, which if you go about a mile further down Ritchie, you'll cross into Houston.
Right.
We're
Totally
right
different
on,
jurisdiction.
Yeah, we're right on the border. And I remember I spoke with Houston detectives and our detectives, and we had someone going around this area pretending to be a police officer, stopping young ladies by themselves at night, late at night, right after the bars close, right after 2 a.m., pretending to be a police officer, handcuffing them, and then using his gun to force sex on the victims. And then, like he was in love with that gun too. I mean, he would, use the gun, put it in the mouth, put it in, up the vagina and stuff like that. He had a fetish with his gun. And so, I just kind of remembered it. I said, this guy is going to one day pull that gun and pull the trigger.
Or something's going to go wrong.
Or something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
The girl's going to try to kick it out of his hands, so I had a sense of urgency of finding this guy and getting off the street because I thought I was going to prevent a homicide.
So now we understand what was happening. Someone was going around in the white car with police overheads going, pulling women over on the weekends after they come from a bar, handcuffing them, raping them, using their gun as a tool of this rape. Now, they didn't know who it was at this time, but they had some very, very important clues. The person had a white car that was police-like, and the person had a uniform on. So the authorities focused in on those two aspects. How many people have white police-looking cars, and how many people are wearing full security uniforms? Here's the chief now explaining why Dave Earl Worden was their prime suspect.
And he was working as a security officer, security guard, working at night for these dealerships at Ritchie and 225, and he was working the night shift, and so he used that opportunity to be your classic, predator. He was out looking for young ladies driving late at night, and then he would stop them, act like a police officer, but he was wearing a security guard uniform in a white car with,
Did it have
overhead-
lights?
yeah,
Did
it had overheads and
I wondered
stuff.
how he managed to get them to stop.
Right, and then he would handcuff them.
Now, you may be saying, well, if there was serial rapes, a whole bunch of women who were raped in this particular manner, why was he only charged with one rape? Why was he only charged and convicted of the one offense? Well, the chief explains.
Back then, what the district attorneys would tell us as detectives is that, okay, we're going to take the best case we got and
Run with it.
run with it, and then during the punishment phase, we'll bring up the others that other rapes that he committed, and we'll enhance the punishment. So apparently, somewhere along the line, the ball got dropped.
Now, this is a very important thing to note, is that in American law, there's a rule against propensity. Now, propensity is when you've committed a crime like rape in the past, and you've committed another rape in the future, then the courts will not allow evidence of the previous rape to come in because the jury would have the tendency to convict you as a rapist who continuously rapes women, right? They would convict you based on what you've done in the past. So the courts want you to only be convicted of the evidence and the charges against you now. So that's why they don't generally allow in evidence of past crimes. David Worden's attorneys filed a motion to keep all of David Worden's past incidents and past crimes out. So here is a paralegal who's interviewing the chief, explaining to you what the jury in Mr. Worden's rape trial was not allowed to hear.
For David. I mean, that's David's motion. That's his attorney filing that paper saying, hey, that part about David raping those other women, that part about David having a stolen car, that part about David's brother, when you're making the arrest of David and David's brother pulls up in the unauthorized vehicle while the arrest is going down,
Wow.
none of that can come into the trial. Okay, so that's the
He had a
motion.
good attorney and a liberal judge.
Now, David was duly convicted and given 10 years probation. And there are some idiots out there saying, well, he only got 10 years probation, so it couldn't have been that bad. Well, what if I told you that there's a case in 1986 where a man was found in the act of raping a woman behind a dumpster? Two individuals went, grabbed this guy, and held him till the police came. So you have all the evidence, everything needed, witnesses and it all. And that guy only got 90 days in jail. So if I told you that happened in 1986, you'd probably think, well, okay. But that didn't happen in 1986. The story I just told you didn't happen in 1986. It happened in 2016. It's the Brock Turner case, where he was caught in the act of raping a woman and only received a 90-day jail sentence.
Brock Turner's sentence, which could amount to as little as 3 months in county jail with good behavior, left one juror so angry he wrote to the judge. In a letter obtained by the Palo Alto Weekly, he writes, "You choose to disregard the jury's findings and believe the defendant's self-serving version of events." In a newly released sentencing document, Judge Persky pointed to Turner's age, lack of criminal history, intoxication, and character letters on his behalf as factors in his decision. He said a prison sentence would have a severe impact on him, but the juror fired back, "Isn't that the point? A sentence should have a severe impact on Mr. Turner." Retired Judge Ladoris Cordell presided over Santa Clara County Superior Court for almost 19 years.
Have you ever seen a letter like this one?
I have not. They unanimously agreed that he had committed these acts. And the feeling of this juror was that the sentence did not reflect the verdict that they brought back.
On Friday, women's rights advocates calling for Persky's removal delivered nearly 1 million signatures to the State Commission on Judicial Performance.
Now, Brock Turner, this convicted rapist, found in the act, only got 90 days. Does that mean it didn't happen? Does that mean he's innocent? Well, Steve McRae thinks so. And Steve McRae writes on Twitter, he was convicted and always maintained as innocent. He never served a day in prison for rape. And then Steve then doubled down on it, saying 10 years probation, no jail time. I believe his rendition of the story. You believe what you want. Steve also believes Brock Turner is innocent. Now, because of his conviction, Earl David Worden is a lifetime registrant on the sex offender registry. So that means he must register for life. And this isn't the end of his horrible criminal activity. So now we had the serial rapes, and he was on probation for 10 years. In 1992, he violated that probation by carrying a firearm. So he was duly convicted and imprisoned for that felony violation. Again, in 1998, he was found in possession of a firearm again, pled guilty, and did more time. And recently, February of this year, he was arrested and charged and later indicted for the rape of his own child.
On a man accused of child sex assault, now back in Harris County and getting ready to face a judge.
Earl Wooten expected in court in about an hour after he was moved from McAllen, where he was arrested last week.
I'm going to leave you with the chief of police for the Pasadena Police Department giving his professional opinion on Earl David Worden.
I'm Al Espinoza, Chief of Pasadena Police Department. And in 1985, I was a sergeant detective in detectives, and I was the detective who investigated David Earl Worden for sexual aggravated assault, who was a suspect in many sexual assault cases, but we were only able to file on one case. But I know that David Earl Worden is a sexual predator, and I'm sure there are many bones in his, or skeletons in his closet. So
now, because I think this is so serious, all the evidence to these claims are in the description of this video. I mean arrest warrants. I mean all the court documents. I mean the video that you've just seen of the interview with the chief of police. All of that evidence is in the description of this video. Now, if you are someone who's on the fence, who doesn't understand, who doesn't know, don't trust me. Look at it for yourself. So now you've heard the evidence on why this convicted rapist and likely serial rapist and the man who's indicted for raping his own child, why I believe it's reasonable to believe that this man is guilty of his crimes. But there's another side to this coin. Steve McRae says that this man is an honorable man and that his victims are liars.
Steve said a rape, hang on, Steve said a rape didn't actually take place.
I believe it was consensual, which means it wouldn't be rape.
Yes.
I happen to believe this guy. I've talked to his best friend. He believes him wholeheartedly. His fans believe him, and he has a huge dedicated fan base. If I'm wrong on that, okay, then I just made a judgment, an error in judgment.
Steve's friend Cheshire Vig explained what Steve actually means.
Yeah. Saying that he believes it was consensual is not defending a rape because in that case, from his point of view, a rape did not happen. He's not saying a rape didn't happen to a rape that did happen. He's saying that he believes that it was consensual based on outside information.
Yeah, if that didn't clear it up for you, you're not alone. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Saying that he believes it was consensual is not defending a rape because in that case, from his point of view, a rape did not happen. He's not saying a rape didn't happen.
Now, Steve has put up a couple of defenses that I think it's notable for us to talk about. Now, Steve has made many excuses about why he believes that Earl David Worden was innocent, but most of them were easily dismissed. Like, for instance, he said there was a lack of Romeo and Juliet laws, but Texas did have Romeo and Juliet laws. He said that Worden maintained his innocence, but so did Bill Cosby and the Zodiac Killer. You know, he said Worden got 10 years probation, which we covered earlier. And last but not least, Steve says that he has secret evidence and that you should simply trust him. So don't trust any of the court documents. Don't trust the chief of police. Don't trust the district attorneys. Don't trust the victims because they're liars. Steve said so. He has secret evidence. And just so you know, he cannot show you that secret evidence, but you have to trust him. You have to trust him. So on one side, we have court documents, witness testimony, victim testimony, and a man who is suspected of serial rape, convicted of rape, and now is under indictment for raping his child, and all the accompanying evidence for those claims, and Steve McRae saying, trust me, he's an honorable man. So, you are the jury, and it is time for you to vote. Do you believe David Earl Worden is an honorable man? Would you leave your children with David Earl Worden because of Steve's secret evidence? Or do you believe your eyes? One side, the chief of police has provided us all the documents. The other side says you need to trust him. Now, if you leave this video and you never watch another one of my videos, understand this. One of these two men is trying to scam you. To scam you to believe that a serial rapist is a good guy. But before you end this video, I want to ask you one question. Do you trust the convicted rapist, the serial rapist, David Earl Worden? Would you want him living next to you and your children? So, I'm asking you as my jury to vote. If you like this video, that means you believe the evidence. That means you believe the mountain of evidence of this man's guilt and this man's depravity. A dislike means you believe Steve McRae based on the evidence that he has, which is simply trust him. Now, before I end this video, I have to say one thing that's going to be very, very important. Steve McRae will not address any of the allegations in this video. He will attack me personally. He will just resort to ad hominem attacks. So let me show you exactly what he's going to say. So when he does say it, you'll know exactly what he's going to say, and you'll know exactly why he's saying it. Again, be very mindful. He will never attack the evidence because it's overwhelming. He's going to attack me. So let me show you exactly what he's going to say.
Yeah, strong suggestion to stay away from Nate. He's a meanie.
He's a meanie. Hey, now, he's been talking to Nate and Heretic and Fiona, I'm sure, and all those other people, and he's become, one of them. But about me. You have the sinister purpose. You have Porpoise. You had, you have Heretic. You have Nate. You have Demi now. God bless you. Unirock. These people are legit obsessed with me. And hanging out with the most detestable people on the planet, like Heretic and Nate and Fiona. I mean, let's be realistic. Anybody who doesn't know by now their history with us, me especially, they have been paying attention.
So what's this? What's this crap about Nate gonna go for it and Kyle and Unirock?
My worst nightmare come true.
You see what I mean? I'm a bad person. I'm a troll. I'm all this stuff. But again, he's not going to address the evidence. He never addresses the evidence. He just says the people who bring the evidence are bad people. Is the chief a bad person? Believe what you will.